The narcissists don't just choose anyone to target. No, they don't. They're very careful who they target. And for the most part, what narcissists look for are people that have traits that they want. And so what does that mean? It means the narcissists target like the most loving, the most compassionate, the most caring of those people around us. Narcissists look for people with, big hearts and loving hearts, people with healthy boundaries and good self-esteem. It's interesting that they target those people because, it's like what's going on in their mind? What are they thinking? Maybe they think they're, like emotional cannibals. They just go around, they devour their prey and then take on the traits of their prey, thinking that somehow maybe they can just absorb all the stuff that they don't have. Because we don't actually know what goes on in their minds. But here's the reality. The reality is that you had something that the narcissist wanted. And then when the relationship was done, it was like just completely drained. You didn't know who you were anymore. And when you actually look at them, they're actually no better. If anything, it's almost like they're worse. And you think that they would learn the lesson after a few cycles. But being an emotional cannibal and trying to devour, the heart and the soul of their victims doesn't actually work. It's a flawed strategy. One thing that I'm guessing with a reasonable amount of certainty is that narcissists, it seems like they have like a hole, like right in the center of their chest, right where a normal person would have a heart. And then they kind of go out in the world with this missing. And they look for people like warm people, kind people, compassionate people with human hearts, and then just try to devour that, and it ends up just going into a black hole, disappearing, and then they need another victim and another victim and another victim. And they just don't seem to get it. It doesn't matter how many times they do it, they just don't seem to get how love works. And here's the thing, when a narcissist squeezes the love out of someone's heart, it feels like there's nothing left, especially the longer that we're in these relationships. Because, what ends up, like the hearts, if we look at hearts, they need to be fed and nurtured. And that's just not something that the narcissist mind can even comprehend or even understand. And the weird thing is like when we first meet a narcissist, we don't actually see them as a narcissist. What we end up doing is seeing the mask. And the mask is just a character that they play. Someone who just perfectly mirrors back the person that, we need the most. If we need someone who's attentive, the narcissist will be so attentive. If we need someone who's affectionate, the narcissist will be so affectionate. If what we're looking for back in the early stages is someone that's just a really good listener, suddenly the narcissist becomes a really good listener. And they're really good at mirroring what you like. Oh, you like that music? I like that music. Oh, you love pasta? I love pasta too. Later on as the relationship goes, you realize they never liked that music and they hate pasta. So why do they pretend like that? And you know what? Here's the thing, the interesting thing about, just coming face to face with just like a narcissistic devil. Because, maybe it's just the way we grow up. We think that when, a devil walks into our life, they're going to, have red skin, they're going to have horns, hooves on their feet. But instead, in those early phases, those narcissists walk into our lives like sunshine on a cloudy day. The narcissists, they play the role of our soulmate, almost like to perfection. Just, it's so perfect. The way they played that role. Just, I wish it was real. I wish. And it's not. Because these narcissistic relationships, eventually they all end. And when they all end, they end in this just dark, cold, damp alley where just danger seems to lurk. And, sanity is lost. Their sanity and ours, right? And the lesson is narcissists are not who they appear when we first meet them. Narcissists appear as, people that we think we need. And then they hide that. They hide that behind the mask, who they actually are. Because the narcissist doesn't show their true intentions right away. Their true colors, those come much, much, much later. Much later. They're narcissists. They're just so clever that way. They have to bait us. They have to hook us. They have to sell us a story, sell us a fantasy. And when we first meet our narcissist, we hear the narcissist story. If you remember back their story, that first story that they tell us, maybe it pulls at our heartstrings. Maybe their story is actually super compelling. And they present themselves as, either, Prince Charming or Snow White. And, they make us believe that there's all these horrible people around them that have done horrible things. And we later find out that those weren't true. They were the horrible people, and they did horrible things to other people. And that's a heartbreaking reality to grasp. And before we go on, I just want to take a brief moment just to introduce myself. My name is Miles, and I'm a recovery coach. I was once a victim, and now I guide people through the healing process. All right, let's just keep going. Now, when we look back at our narcissistic story, back to when we first met, we can see it now with fresh eyes, because everything becomes clear, because that first story is just filled with deceit and is just as cold as a knife. A knife that's been dipped in liquid nitrogen. It's so cold, this first lie, that we believe it, or at least we believe it at first. Because back with narcissistic relationships, back way in the beginning, they pull all the right strings. They know exactly how our hearts are operating, and we love it. And it's wonderful. And it's love that we first get from the narcissist. It just feels like, a warm blanket just made of, teddy bears and rainbows and sunshine. That's exactly what it feels like. It's that first illusion. And that blanket that was made from teddy bears, unicorns, and sunshine, Yeah, well, that was just a facade. And it was designed to be that way. And it was designed very precisely. And it was designed with, very, very specific targets, almost like a sniper with perfect aim. And when we first encounter this with the narcissist, when they make us feel so safe and loved, and the words that they use are very, very carefully selected. These words are like double-edged swords. And then you can flip the sword and use that cool side almost as a bomb to help just soothe the cuts that they created, the ones that they inflicted. It's so weird. It's so messed up. And here's the thing. The early narcissistic facade, it can't last long. No, that illusion takes a lot of work, takes a lot of effort for them. It's a lot of pretending. In this love bombing phase, this early phase of the relationship, there's a clock, there's a timer on that facade because it can't last long. So what does the narcissist do? It puts them on a mission. They get on this mission. They know they can't keep this facade going on forever. They just can't. So what do? They fast track intimacy. Faster than a bullet, leaving the barrel of a gun. And they create this illusion that's just so vivid. It's like, staring into a loving abyss of just pure joy and merriment. Where we get sold on this concept of, this is love at first sight. Well, I can't believe my soulmate. Soulmates, right. Yeah, I'm sure it happens. I'm sure there is love at first sight. I'm sure there is a soulmate out there for all of us. But when we're sold a soulmate identity, it's just like, that's not how soulmates work. The soulmate is a soulmate. And they don't have to sell us on it. We just feel it, and it's just right. And here they are. They're just selling us this concept, this fantasy, this fairy tale. And we want to believe it. We really, really want to believe it. It's like so much. Only to find out later that there's really no happily ever after afterwards. And at first, it's just like we can't believe that, this is real. That, this could be happening to us. That we finally met our soulmate. It's like, oh my God, thank you so much. I'm so lucky. Where's Cupid? Cupid's over there. Thank you, Cupid, for finding me this. It's not Cupid. It's not even close to Cupid. And then as the relationship develops, the tale just gets more and more twisted. The narcissists, they play the victim card so well. They play it like, it doesn't matter what hands are dealt. They've got aces up their sleeve in there, and then some over here, and then behind everywhere. There's aces everywhere. Narcissists, they're like cheaters. They're like cheaters at life. No matter what the conflict is in that with these narcissistic people. They always see themselves as the wounded party, scarred by all the perceived, betrayals. Some of them they just imagine. Some of them aren't even real. Some of them they just dreamt of. And they're like, yeah, that's true. That's what narcissists do. And you, as the victim, is this sweet, loving, empathetic soul. You're just an unsuspecting audience to the narcissist to see. And yes, early on in these relationships, when we first meet them, we get drawn in. We get drawn into their, well-rehearsed narcissistic narrative that just, plays off our sympathy, our compassion. And we give it to them. They give you those early victim cards, those early warnings, just kind of as a test. A test to see, is this something that they can keep doing? How far can they go? And little by little, they exploit it more and more and more and more. And then, these narcissistic relationships turn into utter chaos. And it didn't happen, one day. It happened over time, and it built up over time. And it's so weird because at first, these narcissistic relationships, they make you feel like you're the center of the universe. And, we all just kind of love it. We just buy into it because we want to be sold. That's exactly what we want to do. We buy into it, just hook, line, and sinker. We're just like unsuspecting fish swimming in the ocean, and oh my gosh, there's a worm just floating there out of nowhere. Oh, it's a free meal to fill, our hungry bodies. And when we first bite down on that, that morsel, that tree, we're just completely unaware that there's a hook and a string attached to that line. And you realize that, you become the prey in this just twisted game. Narcissists are very strategic when they hook us, like fish. It's just they'll loosen the string, let us swim a little bit, and then they'll pull us closer, and then let us go a little bit, and then pull us closer, and pull us closer, and pull us closer. And just over time, what ends up happening is just like, as soon as you think that, I can't take it anymore, they give you a little bit of slack. They love bomb you for a little while, and then they get meaner and meaner. And what you're realizing is this fishing line is just getting shorter and shorter and shorter. And you got to think about like the mind, like how messed up and how relentless are these narcissistic predators. What they're looking for is what, piques your interest early on. They're looking for what piques your interest, what moves your soul. And that's what they use. And whatever that is, what moves your soul is what they use to put on that hook and throw it into the ocean and then catch themselves like a nice empath. And it's so convincing when we first meet these narcissists, how well they play their role of our soulmate. They play it so well, make you feel like such an amazing person. But then, things start to escalate. And this narcissistic roller coaster, it just starts to move faster and faster. And what started as just like a quiet date, maybe, turns into this weird romantic thrill ride that has a really dark underbelly. that's just hidden from sight. And we can remember in these early narcissistic encounters where we have all these, wonderful shared moments, have laughter. They create these exclusive little worlds and make you believe that little world that they created is a reality. So what's the narcissist's plan? To make you feel safe, make you feel loved, make you feel heard, in order to isolate you from your circle, from your support system. So it's like a lion, when it's out there hunting a baby zebra, what does it want to do? It has to separate it from the pack, because the pack will protect the fowl. And a poor little baby zebra doesn't really have a chance, because they've lost the protection, they lost their network, they lost the protection of the herd. When we first meet a narcissist, we have a herd. And as the relationship develops, it's like our herd just starts making more and more distance. And as our herd goes further and further away, it enables worse and worse behavior. Maybe other people don't even know about. And then what happens? What happens when a narcissist, just isolates us into this narcissistic darkness? And it comes when you least expect it. This isolation once was just comforting, like a warm blanket. It transforms into a prison. I think you walked in and got sold a castle. And suddenly the castle gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And you realize that it wasn't a castle at all, it was a prison. And that love from the beginning of these narcissistic relationships, it quickly evolves into something just, far more sinister. And the mask that narcissists wear, the Prince Charming mask, the Snow White mask, it just begins to crumble and just revealing this dark malevolence that's just lurking underneath. It ends up just being a slap in the face. It jolts you out of that perfect, comfortable life that they created. The life that narcissists once made safe is no longer safe once that mask starts to crack. And more of the true self starts to be revealed. Because they're aware that they're growing a trauma bond between, the victim and prey. And the narcissists hold on to these trauma bonds so they can control the story, so they can control the narrative. All while the victim is just trying to wake up from this weird narcissistic dream, this nightmare. That's when you come to the term, and it's a harsh reality that we face, that, you're not dreaming, you're not asleep. You just got trapped in like a bear trap with these narcissistic clutches, where the jaws of this bear trap are just lined with just trauma bonds that are just so hard to break once they close. And we see it, and we know that the narcissist mask just starts to slip, just revealing their true face, their true self, their true nature as a manipulator. And even though narcissistic relationships begin by feeling it's just like, immaculate conception, because of the words the narcissists use, the language that they use, and the empathy that they can fake. Oh, they do it with such skill, almost like, a master artist just wielding a brush, using emotions and kindness and caring and understanding and compassion and empathy. The narcissists are just painting over a hellfire. And the further these relationships go, the more the narcissist just increasingly, isolates people and controls the narrative more and more and more. And you can look back and you can see that this is, the story of narcissistic relationships. And it's a story that has a warning to it, a call to arms, to recognize red flags, to heed those narcissistic signs earlier in relationships. We can start to see other people that have just got ensnared in this twisted narcissistic reality that you don't recognize until you know exactly what to look for. Those little subtleties. Because it takes time. It takes time to see the narcissist. And, they're just like cunning architects. And throughout the relationship, they go around just laying traps. These traps with just illusion and deception. And they lure us in with these, intriguing little snares, painting this beautiful canvas that's just painted over just darkness. And we realize that when we look back at the narcissistic relationships, it's just like they were playing the puppet master the entire time. And we were just unwitting participants in their drama, sucked into their false stage with two-dimensional plastic props that slowly over time start to disappear. But here's the thing, we don't have to be stuck on this narcissistic puppet stage. We don't have to be captive in this, manipulative little, stage performance. And we can rewrite this narcissistic script and just peel back the layers to expose the truth, to speak our truth, to free ourselves from the delusions, from the masks. It takes time, it takes support, it takes understanding from people. That because if we believe those early stories at the beginning of these relationships, and others did too, and quite often when these relationships end, they end so badly, people are like, you guys seem so happy. It seems like you had the perfect relationship. And other people just believe that. And when the truth actually comes out, when the truth starts to be spoken, it takes a while for people to even get that they too were a victim, because this partnership wasn't real, it just wasn't. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Miles. I'm a recovery coach. If you need help, if you need support, I'm here for you. You can reach out to me at narcovery.com, or you can post, Narcovery from Manipulation in order to get my access to my online class, or post, Narcovery Recovery, and you can actually join my one-on-one program. And we can set up a call and work one-on-one with each other.